Good morning. It's June 1st. Happy Pride. Time for another NASA Day video. And today we're going to go back to 1993. The Space Shuttle Discovery was getting ready for a launch with the Advanced Communication Technology satellite, as well as practicing some repair procedures for an upcoming Hubble servicing mission. We were about a week away from launch. And during the pre-launch testing, there's a test for purging and inerting the external tank. We had to power up to support it. We power up the main engine controllers, basically to open the bleed valve so that the whole system can flow through and all be purged and inerted at the same time. We had just powered up the engine controllers when one of the engine controllers halted and its redundant side took over. We performed a memory dump. We also did a memory compare against what we loaded initially to verify there was no corruptions. We discovered that 3 locations in memory were different. So I started working on my analysis. The Marshall engine program was convinced it was a hardware issue on the engine controller because 3 memory locations shouldn't be affected, and they were gearing up to get into the aft engine compartment, replace the engine controller, retest it, button it all up, and that would have delayed launch by at least a week. So my analysis showed that one memory location had a bit flip from a 1 to a 0, and this caused the self-checking pair interrupt to occur because the address bus and the data bus did not match between the 2 memories. Now, something interesting for really tech nerdy geeks is the self-checking pair interrupt is at a level within the 68,000 microprocessor at which the current bus cycle is allowed to execute before the interrupt routine is executed and processed. So they're allowed to finish what they're doing. That bus cycle executes, and then they jump to an interrupt processing routine to handle the self-checking pair interrupt. Now, the instruction in question that had the bit change was a relative branch instruction. So at the time of the interrupt, the 2 systems had a different relative value in its internal registers for where to branch, and the next address was going to be different between the 2. So when the interrupt occurred, the first thing that happens is the 68,000 microprocessor saves off all of its internal state, the registers, to the stack, which is just another area of memory. So everything that was inside the microprocessor gets saved to memory. So the 3 locations were really explained from the single location in memory that changed. The other 2 were to the fact that the instruction was allowed to execute inside the microprocessor and then get moved to the stack when the interrupt was called. So having explained why the 3 locations were there from a single location, why did that single location change? Well, another interesting thing is that the new Block 2 engine controllers have static random memory held up with a battery backup. When the system's powered on, the memory is at about 5 volts of memory. However, when the system is powered off, the memory is maintained with the 1.5 volt battery that is keeping the memory active. Now, high energy cosmic particles are known to strike the Earth and cause issues with solid state memory, causing a bit flip. On orbit, the Space Shuttle's general purpose computers experience this all the time. However, they have what is called error detecting and correcting hardware. How that works is extra information is stored with each bit, with each word of memory, such that it can detect if 1 or more bits have changed, and it has enough information that it can fix a single bit. So if a single bit changes, it can look at the extra pieces of information and have enough data to correct that one bit and put it back to the way it was supposed to be. Now, the engine controllers don't have this. They get powered off shortly after arriving on orbit, and so it was deemed not necessary for them to have it. And to date, we had never seen one while the system was powered on and at the higher memory level. The lower the voltage, the more susceptible it is to this high energy cosmic particle and a bit flip. Though I couldn't prove it, we were able to close out the anomaly as an unexplained anomaly, with the most probable cause being a high energy cosmic particle striking when the system was powered off and at the lower memory voltage. This was accepted, and we successfully launched Discovery on time, in part due to the analysis of the memory dump. Where are you going, camera? Sorry. Camera's acting up on me. All right. Not going to play. Anyway, to finish up the story. A few weeks later, I was in Clearwater, Florida. I went over for a Honeywell, which is the vendor makes the managed controller. I went over for their quarterly program review. The avionics manager for Rocketdyne, who's responsible for the engine controller and all the software, came up to me when we were on break and thanked me personally. He said, I saved the launch. They were gearing up to replace that engine controller. They were convinced it was a hardware failure, but my analysis explained it satisfactorily to them that they were happy, and they went on and launched. Even though I never received an award or anything, that personal recognition kept me going for many, many years. Those are the kind of things when somebody just comes up to you and says, hey, thank you. That job was great and it really helped us out. Can go a long ways to motivating employees. Anyway, I wanted to share that story with you. It's something that I've held near and dear to my heart for all these years. It's something that's made me feel good about what I did at NASA and my time there. I've had a lot of amazing things happen in my career, but that was a special one. Anyway, happy Pride Month, and we'll talk to you all later.